Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
This is going to happen in your life. I guarantee you've had to deal with this. What's the best way to do it? I'm talking about conflict. When conflict arises, how do you navigate through that? Do you walk away from it? Do you handle it in a certain way? Some people fly off the handle. All right, you dealt with it. Was that the best way? Dealing with conflict, conflicting situations, it's all part of relations and relationships. That's what we're going to look at today. She is somebody that helps individuals, couples with many different modalities through hypnosis, psychological evaluations, and so much more. And even what we're talking about today, we're going to learn a lot from Dr. Ann Creekmore, who is a psychologist and back with us. Welcome. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Steve?
I'm good. And I'm learning about, I was always somebody that said, I don't want to deal with conflict. I don't want, and I don't. I walk away from negativity as much as I can. But there are times where something will happen and you need to handle it. Because if you don't, isn't it true that it's just going to fester? That energy is just going to be sitting there and you're never going to feel fulfilled. Something is going to be off balance. What are your thoughts?
I agree. Yes. I mean, it's good to kind of walk away if some situation's getting out of hand and, think people are kind of blowing up or being aggressive. They may be too angry to listen then, but you can come back later, and you can ask, hey, would this be a good time for me to share something or something on my mind? And then when they're in a better mood, you can talk to them about what it is that you're concerned about or what bothered you then, once they're in a good mood and they're willing to listen. So that's always a good way to start.
Why don't we do a hypothetical? Let's say somebody has done something or said something. You believe it wasn't the right thing. It's just got you like, you're angry. You've gotten to that point where how could they do that? How, again, you're just angry. How do you, let's take it step by step. Because I believe nowadays that many of us need just the full direction, like GPS. We get in the car. Now we don't even go anywhere.
Why not? That's why I wrote my book, because it's got the checklist for each kind of area. One of the chapters, speak your truth, healthy assertive behavior, how to resolve conflicts. And step by step. So that's a good idea.
So walk us through. We've had a conflict with somebody, whatever it might be. And you're at that point where you've made that realization. You're just, got me. I'm mad. I'm angry. Where do you go from there?
Well, you've heard the saying that anger is the mask that some men wear that kind of hides their feelings. So if you're angry about something, the first thing would be, before you approach somebody, would be to go below what the tip of it is, the anger. That's okay, as boys socialize to just, not be crybabies or whatever their feelings. And so you want to ask yourself, what's below my anger? Am I feeling sad about something, hurt, disappointed, inadequate, or, am I feeling scared or anxious about something, worried or shocked, or, find out what your deeper feelings are, because it always helps you just make what's called I messages. It's more like, I'm feeling this way when this happens because this is how it affects me, versus saying a you message to them like, well, when you did this, you really did the wrong thing, and start telling them what they did wrong. They're more inclined to, and first, so you have to think to yourself, well, wait a minute, go deeper. Why am I angry? Can you give me any kind of example of something that, since you wanted to kind of do it step by step, can you think of a hypothetical that would be somebody's angry about something? Let's take it to a deeper level, what they're really feeling.
Sure. Let's go, especially with social media. Let's hypothetically look at somebody said something about somebody else. Maybe it's you. Somebody said something. It got back to you. It's totally not true. You're just angry. It compromised your value. you feel like you need to say something to set the record straight. And also
Right.
confront this person. Like, how dare you say that about me?
Right.
Do
Right.
you wait and let your anger kind of taper off?
That's a
Though,
great point.
yeah.
Yes, it's a great point because that they found that your IQ, your intelligence level actually goes down when you're angry by like two standard deviations. So you're not going to be able to express or collect your thoughts as well if you're so angry. So that's why if you can go away and breathe, do something to calm down, maybe get at what the deeper feelings are. You know, are you hurt by this, or are you scared people are going to not treat you right? What is really bothering you? Why it's bothering you? Or is it just triggering something from your past that somebody used to do, and it's really not as big of a deal what they said? It's just triggering all this pain, you know, that you want to heal some inner stuff. Or you need to heal, you know, something from the past more, not bring it into the present as much. So after you've done that and you calm down and kind of collected your thoughts, you know, there will be different ways that you could do it. I mean, what ways, you know, what are your thoughts on that first? I mean, would you, I mean, because I'm not a social media person for one, so you might correct me on the technology in this sense, but would it be something that you could, in this scenario we're pretending about or working with, would you be able to contact the person privately? You know,
Sure.
could you do a little private message?
You would. Yeah.
You know, and then say, when I heard somebody saying, you know, that I had done this thing, and then I felt really hurt because I hadn't done it, and I was afraid people might believe that, you know, and kind of give them an iMessage in like a private, you know, and you could
Sure.
say, you could even start with, hey, could we talk for a minute, or, you know, chat for a minute? And then if they were willing to listen, then you could say that and see if you could kind of get it straight. And then maybe, but sometimes it's good, depending on the situation, to do it in a group, you know, because other people might, you know, understand why that person did it, in the sense of that they might support you. They might say, you know, so and so does say stuff like that, and then, you know, I better, you know, when you put it out there and say, when this happened, I felt hurt because, you know, I thought people might believe this, and it didn't happen, or whatever. And then other people might come to your rescue, which could also give you support. I mean, I guess I'm really saying that some people, when you're approaching them, you kind of want to know, are they narcissistic or not? Like, if they're narcissistic, they might not, you know, and they made a mistake or they said something wrong, they're not going to want to admit it because they don't look good then. I mean, the whole narcissistic fix is to get attention, approval from other people. So if you just put something online to the person that, and they're kind of narcissistic and they don't want to look bad, they may, you know, still, you know, say you did it or whatever, and they're not going to say sorry. Even if you do it one-on-one, sometimes with someone narcissistic, they may still want to look like they were right and that they didn't do wrong, because the whole thing is that helium balloon of the grandiose self that they have to keep afloat to get their constant fix, because that what had happened was they had that low self-worth that went underground, they don't deal with, that they're constantly defending against by looking good to everybody. So first step, you know, you might wonder, you know, is this person that way, and how can you approach it? Sometimes it's better to approach somebody like that in a little group of other people that are not narcissistic, that might get, yeah, I would be hurt too if somebody, you know, said that about me and it wasn't true, and they might be supportive, you know, of you with this other person that you might not actually be able to reach. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I put it through a filter. Like, if you are going to somebody, whether it's on social media or whether somebody said something to somebody else, just one-on-one, and it got back to you, maybe through the other person or a group or whatever it might be, do you need to confront it? Do you need to? Yeah, you might be angry, but then is it going to make a difference if you say something to that person anyway? You know, many times we get angry, but that person, they don't care. So here you are engaging them, feeding into it, They've already moved on, did whatever they
Right.
did, whether they said something or did something. Before I send, and I have to remember to do this because sometimes I almost forget. Like I gotta reply to somebody. The filter is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? If you put it through all three of those and you still come up with a yes and a yes and a yes, all right, reasonable to maybe send that email or that text. But if it doesn't fit those three, is it kind? Is it true? And is it necessary? Maybe you shouldn't be sending it. You know?
Exactly. I love that. Exactly. First evaluate it. And then also and to add to that, and if you feel you do have to say it, then being healthily assertive is saying what you got to say without insulting the other person or in any way kind of threatening the other person. So say it in a way that doesn't insult or threaten. Say what you got to say.
Yeah. And if you look at it this way, through the filter of those three things, is it kind? Now, they did something not so nice to you. You're angry. But if you reply with you,
Right.
you're now lowering yourself. Right. You're like your mom said. Now you're lowering yourself to their level. Why not
Right.
rise above it and use a little of this instead of, just this? So kind is, can you present it in a way where it's not your confront? Yeah, you're angry. I get it. And I'm not condoning what anybody does if they did you wrong, but can you do it in such a way where it's called tactful, i.e. kind? Is it true?
Exactly.
True.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
obvious. That's obvious. Yeah. And is it necessary? That's the filter of what is it going to make a difference? What's the outcome after you send it? You're going to feel better. All right. Yeah. Well, then if that's the case, write it down on a piece of paper and put it somewhere.
Right. And just release it.
Yeah.
Or talk to people important in your life that might be affected or something and let them know.
Yeah.
So that, correct it or whatever. But yes, it's a good question. And because it's a little different on social media, people may say things all the time. And, but, if you feel like you need to say it, then, and it's important that it'll have why would you want to say it? Like, for example, why would it be necessary on social media? Can you think of some reasons why it would be necessary to say something on social media?
If it's hurtful, no. I don't see that point whatsoever. My whole thing is if you're going to post something, my personal opinion, it has to be for the benefit of others. So for example,
Yes.
a lot of people will just post my vacation picture or whatever. All right, great. You let people know what you're doing. That's your choice. That's fine. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
I'm more of what is somebody going to get out of it? Let's say you go on vacation and you find an interesting looking bug. What the heck is this? All right, so maybe that's somebody might get something out of it.
Right.
Oh, I had the same one. What is that? It's weird with red spots all over it.
Right. And you're curious and you're asking a question. Have you seen it before, and
for the benefit of others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. But short of if somebody has said something or done something, I would not do it in public. It's going to be behind the scenes with the filter there. And wait a period of time before you do it. A few hours to let your blood pressure come down and just like
Exactly. You could actually write one of those John Gray love letters that aren't the romantic love letters. They're just the letters where you sit down and journal like how you feel. Like I felt sad because I felt angry because I felt scared because I felt hurt because whatever. You kind of fill in and get your thoughts in a row. And then you can write like back what you'd like to hear back from them. You write the apology. Sometimes that's enough just to make you feel better. That if they were in their highest self, they really got what you're saying or how they affected you, that they would say this back. If they really got it and they say back, well, I'm sorry because you write a letter to yourself. And I'm sorry because from them, imagining you're them. I regret doing that. I understand now how you feel, and I'm sorry. You deserve to be treated right or whatever. And you write that letter back to yourself. And sometimes that can just be healing in itself. You say, if they really understood and they're at their best self, that's what they probably say. And you say it to yourself and you can let it go. But because you've healed it already, you kind of healed it.
What's it? I love that idea. It's different. It's different. And again, we have to keep in mind that for the most part, that person's not going to apologize. That if they do, great. But when people do things to hurt people hurt. They have their issues already. Whatever you say, whatever you throw out there, they don't care. They've already done it. They probably have already moved on. You reminded me of something. I just made a quick diagram. I don't even see that. But
yeah.
what you said, you make a circle. This is what they did. The spokes of the wheel, if you will, is how it made you feel. And sometimes it's better to have that visual in front of you as opposed to
that's a good way. And then also, if you actually do have a confrontation, if you will, or you're just sharing how you feel with the person, you need to, it would help to have in mind maybe what you would like, a small specific behavioral request change. It could be just a small thing on this one. They said something mean and it hurt your feelings. It wasn't true. You're afraid people are not going to like you or whatever. And then, you could ask a small request at the end if you have the talk with them and say, would you consider that this really hurts me if something like that is said to me? And maybe next time, if you need to say something, maybe you could tell me privately if something's bothering you. It's just a small thing to not put something on, but if you need to tell me something, would you tell it to me privately? That would be like a small request. So when you dig deep in what you're going to say, and you're going to say something, you say it without insulting or without threatening or anything. You're just saying how you feel and why. And then you have in mind if they may say they're sorry. And then you can say, well, maybe next time, would you check it out, and see if that happened before you said something, say to me privately or something, and get that straight with the person. And that would make for a healthier relationship.
You bring up a thought here. So you're in that situation. You want to, I hate to use the word confront them. You want to connect with them for something that they did.
Right.
Should you word it in a certain way? For example, can you please tell me, Ann, why you said that on Instagram about me? Like you're putting it on them to answer a question as opposed to, I can't believe you do what you did. How dare you, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Should you present it that way? So it's on them.
Yeah. I mean, when you're having a conversation with someone, even though you may be trying to observe tactful, polite, healthy communication where, you're going to send and hopefully they'll acknowledge what you're saying and then you'll listen to them. It's always appropriate to ask a question. You can always just ask a question like, well, what were you thinking? What was your thought process to put that online about me? It's a good question. You can always ask that. It's always appropriate to ask. No stupid question, right? As I say.
Right. So you're accomplishing what you wanted to in that you're connecting with them. Let's put it that way. And now it's on them to answer to what they did. Now, they might not even reply. And now it's up to you whether, I think that's at that point your choice of why even bother? Because again, people that do this kind of stuff, they've already moved on. They just don't care.
Right. And the people that know you're fine. So you don't need to be telling them what they already know anyway. And just, that's the thing that people need to just, not get so upset about things that aren't going to really impact them. If it was going to impact you in some way, then you might want to say something about it. Like if it's at work, for example, or if something came on your work, site or something, and it wasn't true, you wouldn't just ignore it and let your boss think, oh yeah, I did that. You might want to say something in the group. But if it's just online, it's just, you can just, of course, you turn the other cheek. Don't give it any mind. Don't give it any power. Just see it going away and it's visible. It doesn't affect you.
Should you, in these situations, make a list of your values, your boundaries, whatever it is, we in our mind know what we'll tolerate, will accept and not. But should you even just be proactive? This is what I'm about. And just so you can see it in front of you.
Yeah, I think that's great. Sure.
Because think of it this way. Ask yourself right now, what are your values? What are you? What drives you? What is it about you?
Right. I mean, kind of like a lot of times for any decision, I get my clients not only to do, like, say you got a decision, should I move or not move, whatever. So you do the pros and cons of what are the pros and cons of moving. Well, what are the pros and cons of not moving? And then you see the list. But then you want to know, what are my priorities in life? What do I value? What are the things that I need? And then when you make your decision, then you look, to make your decision, you look not only pros and cons, but you look at your priorities, your needs, and say, well, which one actually meets my needs? So it's always good to remember what your main priorities in life, maybe the top 4 things that are your needs or what you feel you need in life to be to prioritize, to be fulfilled. And can be a good way to look at this. Like you can do a pros and cons, like you want to respond to the person. What are the pros and cons of responding to the person? What are the pros and cons of just letting it go? What's really important to you in your life? What are your priorities, your values, your needs? Well, which one fits? Which one would actually fulfill your needs? That make a decision based on your authentic self, if you will, who you really are and what really is important to you. So that's a great thing to have, right? That I think about.
As time goes on, for me, it's truth. And any time in recent years I've had to message, text somebody about a situation, it's the facts. I try to, leave emotion out. Easier said than done. But the facts, true facts, not the ones that you support you and not everybody else. Facts. And I'll even say, blah, 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 blah. Fact, period. It's nobody can walk away from the facts. And if it's, factual that somebody said something about you, you present that. These are the facts. And that's where and then I know that I've done my job of not skewing it, just presenting it for what it is, and what comes of it will come of it. But I guess that goes into being your authentic self. If you come from authenticity,
right,
nothing can be denied.
You could always add a link too, this is, what the real thing is. And here's the link, or photo, something of it. And then, you just pass on the information because, people make mistakes or just kind of take, see something and believe it off the top of the head and they don't necessarily, you can help them fact check. You can always just say, oh yeah, here it is. Here's the link. Here's a little blurb on it. You got it. There's the facts.
Yep. Yeah. And it's my understanding too, if you are dealing with somebody who is narcissistic or have some of those tendencies, the best way to deal with that is the facts. Just present the facts. There it is. Not up for debate. You can't debate a fact. Right. It's a fact.
And you can always say to them, I know you were doing your best. You really are trying to be supportive around this subject, and that you're really trying to help. And so here's just what, the link, and for you to look more at it so you have that. So it's not offending them. They were trying to do what they thought was right.
Well, talking about links, share yours where somebody could find you, and also in your book and all the other things that you have available.
Sure. A real easy way to find me is to go on to Psychology Today. It's a directory. And speaking of links, because if you look me up, Dr. Ann Creekmore, and it's spelled like it sounds, Creek, Creekmore, 10, then it will basically have my link to my website right on it. So you can see me, picture, you can, see the link, then you can just click it, it'll take you and give you all the information. It's easy to remember. Psychology Today.
Excellent. Wonderful talking with you.
Great to talk to you. as always.
Always great insight. And this is the stuff that we deal with, but we're not really sure how to deal with it. I can't say enough. Your book, Love Yourself, Love Your Life, right?
Correct. In my maiden name. But that'll be on the website. You can see that.
It's the blueprint for all of us. Everything that we're talking about. It's so funny because I just thought of, let's talk about conflict today. I didn't know it was in the book. It's in the book. Of course it is. Everything's in the book that you need to know.
Yeah, try to cover it all the areas, like all the areas of your life and how to be happy in them.
And thank you so much. Looking forward next time we talk.
Me too. Thanks, Steve.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.